Hello, nerds.
Hello, geeks.
Hello, gamers.
Hello, dweebs.
Hello, fanboys.
Hello, fangirls.
Hello, fan persons.
Of all races, genders, and creeds.
Welcome to another episode of Meanwhile Back on the Podcast, the only podcast show that will never refer to the X-Men as X-Persons. I'm Frank.
Christina.
I'm Chris.
I'm Saba.
On today's show, Chris, Christina, Saba, and I give you our 2 cents on the whole Disney-Sony clusterfuck. We give you all the best stuff coming out of D23. Chris taps into his powers of foresight for our roundtable on WandaVision. We clear up the whole time travel, space travel debacle around Loki and the Tesseract. And it's hard truth time for all you Boba Fett fans. All this and more on this episode of Meanwhile Back on the Podcast, so stay with us.
Meanwhile, back on the podcast, 4 colossal nerds named Saba, Chris, Christina, and Frank have set out to take on a great darkness that has enveloped the world of fandom. With their powers of common sense and the strength to take on even the most butthurt Twitter mobs and insufferable comment section trolls, they fight for truth, objectivity, and nuance in the conversation and debate over fictional made-up shit.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Meanwhile Back on the Podcast. I'm Saba.
Frank?
Christina.
Chris.
And today we have a lot to talk about. We have D23, Spiderman, but before we get to that, how are you guys doing?
Really good.
Pretty good.
Very good.
We had a good time at Fan Expo this weekend, so can't complain. I got a new Star Wars hat, so things
That you
are.
paid maybe a little too much for.
I paid way too much for this because I went to look at it online at the actual site where I bought it because they had their banner overhead. I was like, yeah, I wonder what else these guys have. I look at the hat. I paid $12 over what I could buy it online for. Like, what the fuck?
Con prices.
Like-
I know,
Yeah.
stuff does cost more.
Yeah, I know, but aren't you supposed to be able to get discounts when you
On
go
the comic
physically into these
books.
places?
On the comic books, you
I
can.
mean,
That's
I
some
did a
bullshit.
lot of impulse buys. I bought a cheese board that said, "May the fromage be with you."
I like that.
I'm not
That
gonna
was
say
pretty
how
good.
much I spent on it. And I also bought one of those like floppy ear hats. The hats where like the ears pop up.
That's cute.
They're pretty cute. I have no use for these things, but they will collect dust in my closet.
Yeah. So yeah, we got some interviews done too.
And
Yeah,
we'll
that was fun.
Talked to some cool people.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
that'll be next episode. So definitely listen in.
Yeah, we're gonna do. I think we're gonna do a Fan Expo episode, and you get to hear about Christina's dating experience
Juicy.
inside
Saba,
Fan
you
Expo.
didn't go?
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. I did the speed dating with the nerd boys and the nerd girls. It was pretty good. I think it's not what we expected it to be, but yeah.
So the big news coming out of last week was this whole MCU Sony debacle with the Spider-Man. Essentially, Sony is pulling Spider-Man from the MCU, and there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of it just has to go down to who's getting paid what. What are your guys' first thoughts on this?
Oh man, this is a bag of cats. It's a messy one for sure. I mean, it sounds like Sony's pulling Spider-Man, but like they did jump from 5% to 50%. You know what I mean? Like that's a big jump.
But don't you think that's maybe warranted? So one could say like Kevin Feige had a big hand in
Oh yeah.
cultivating it, and maybe 50% is a lot. So that was the number that they first came back with.
It was 50% of shared expenses and costs, though. So they were going to have to also start funding the movies, which wasn't the case before. Before, they were just getting 5% of gross profits. So now, if they split it, they're splitting the profits and the costs.
Which is, I think, fair because, like, honestly, I think none of us would even be having this conversation right now if it wasn't for whoever brokered the deal between Sony and Disney to get Spider-Man into Civil War, right? That was the iteration that we now know. We know Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I think everybody at this table will agree that he has been the best Spider-Man
Oh yeah.
that we've ever seen, right?
This
So-
is definitely like Kevin Feige is like Spider-Man, and we know Sony owns Spider-Man, but this is the MCU Spider-Man. We all know this for sure. But like, put yourself in Sony's position for a second. Like, they didn't have to say yes the first time. They said yes to this. Like, this is like the one last property that they have that was like in terms of like Marvel characters that they bought from Marvel, and it's like that's a huge jump. Like I'm definitely on the side of like MCU because like if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have this. But from a business side, like yeah, like they're paying for the cost, but you know that this movie's gonna profit. It's not like this is billions that they're losing from. Anyways,
But my issue was sort of just the rejection, the straight up rejection that Sony had for that first offer. There didn't seem to be a lot of negotiation.
oh yeah,
And
you
I'm
have to
kind
play
of with you there
hardball.
too. Like, obviously, this is a big property for Sony, and they have had success with Into the Spider Verse and some success with Venom
Right.
as well. So you can sort of see them wanting to keep that. My main thing is like the fans. Like you said, this Spider Man is really one of the best iterations we've seen. I think even Stan Lee said like
Yeah,
this is like what I kind of pictured
for
Spider Man
sure.
as, and you can tell Tom Holland is really important to the series or his Peter Parker. I mean, when you look at Far From Home, Tony gave him Edith, basically signifying like you're my successor, right? And so it would be really strange to have a phase 4 without this person in it,
hmm
especially with the amount of gravity he had and sort of I think that Spider-Man was one of the reasons that Tony really went back in Endgame and was like, "Yeah, I'm going to help these guys out because, there's this kid." And so then to sort of just like remove him from the story moving forward just would be really sucky.
And to build off of Saba's point, like where do we go from here, right? The last the last time we saw Peter Parker in a Marvel property, a Disney-owned property, his identity was revealed. Like
Exactly.
like what do? Does Sony start the Spider-Man universe with no secret identity? I don't fucking think so. Like
I have a feeling they're gonna come to an agreement. It
Yeah,
seems
yeah,
like talks are still ongoing,
yeah.
let's
and
let's hope so
I've heard
because
That's
that
definitely it. It's
I've heard
not.
that the next price point they were negotiating on was the 25%. It sounded like they
Yeah,
couldn't settle on that too. But obviously, Disney has to start high, and they know they're going to get
exactly.
negotiated down from there. I think they'll work something out. I think
What I
it's
found
beneficial to both parties.
what I found really interesting was the media covering the story because it was so one sided. It was like there's a boycott on Sony and like everybody was like Sony's trying to take Spider-Man away from us. Like
Mhm.
guys, at the end of the day, it was their property. They bought that property. It's like like, yeah, like you like we want the Spider-Man like to stay in the MCU because it's essential. But it's like the media was like bashing Sony. It
sure.
was so one sided for
Sure,
me.
but we're talking about something that is nothing without the fan base, right?
Right.
We're talking about something that's completely predicated on whether the fans go and put their butts in the seats and watch it,
hmm
right? And if if I'm the CEO of Sony, I'm giving Marvel whatever the fuck they want because
At
without
the cost of
Marvel,
billions.
yes, because listen, Far From Home generated close to over $1 billion in terms of box office, right? It was one of their most it was Sony's most successful film to date, right? That is not because of anything that the creative team at Sony did. That's because of the creative team at Marvel and Disney, right? That's because there's been a natural progression in this character that started that moment when we saw Spider-Man for the first time in the MCU with Cap's shield. That was one of the most iconic images in MCU history, right? Hey, Underoos, right?
Yeah.
Like that is where it all started,
Right.
right? And I'm sorry, but if they don't recognize and realize that they don't have the creative bandwidth to do this, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because I
Yeah,
don't
for
think they
sure.
do have the
I
creative bandwidth
wonder.
to do
Okay, but
this.
you're
Unless
making
Yeah.
it sound like Sony doesn't want to make more Spider-Man movies. They do. It's just this is Disney taking exactly what they want whenever they want it. Like this is them manipulating the media. Take like again, I'm on the side of whatever makes the next Spider-Man movie. But this is like Disney strong arming a smaller company
Sure,
now.
but one company has the ability to connect this singular character
Right.
to the rest of their family,
I mean, like
right?
I doubt that Sony feels that way. I doubt Sony
They
feels like
should
we
feel
can't.
that way. That's the problem. They should feel that way
But-
Well,
because
here's the thing. Maybe so. This could be another take on it. What if Sony saying no right off the bat was sort of like a stand to
I mean,
Disney,
that's definitely what
right?
it
Like a
is. Yeah.
stand and being like, we're not just gonna take this because, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it is.
like obviously there's creative forces behind both things, and Kevin Feige is like a big
Yeah.
reason behind these Spider-Man movies. But one thing that last movie proved, Far From Home, is that Tom Holland can carry a movie.
Absolutely.
Like he can carry his own movie, and I think Sony is sort of using that. Maybe not, I don't want to use the word bait, but sort of like hanging on a string. Like we have this character that can carry his own movie and maybe to get more favorable terms.
And they might also be banking on the success of their Spider-Verse series. So there's going to be another Spider-Verse movie. There's going to be a Venom movie. I bet they're going to do a Spider-Gwen movie, something like that, or a show or something. So maybe they're just hoping that fans will come out and see those
Sure,
instead.
sure.
But
And
I don't know why you would do that if you could also have a hand in some other movies that you don't have to be as heavily involved with.
the thing that I'm most frustrated about is we just got the X-Men. We just
Yeah.
got the Fantastic Four, right? I know I sounds like I'm speaking on a Disney's my best friend or something.
I
but
know you
that's
were like
not
one of the people
case.
But
rioting at
perhaps
Fan
Disney
Expo
was
with the
trying to
signs.
interfere
But-
with the Spider-Verse movies as well. We don't know what else is in the deal.
Sure, but we just got the family together. Like that's the way I see it. Is we just got the family together, and the cousin can no longer
But
play
you're
with
making
us.
it sound like Sony was the one that made this deal. Like Disney came with this. If everybody on the table wanted to make this
I
movie,
agree with you.
Disney could make a better deal that's for Sony.
I completely agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Right.
But what I want is I want everybody to look at this thing from
Like the
from,
point of view of
uh,
the fans.
from the point of view of the fans
Oh, yeah.
and break it down atomically,
Yeah,
right?
that I get. Yeah.
Break it down
for
into
sure.
elements, break it down into parts and go, okay, listen. If we stick with Disney, if we take this deal, what is the upside for us, right? We continue to make crossover Marvel based movies, right? Which
Right.
have historically been the most financially
Financially
successful
successful.
movies out of all the films, right?
And creatively
Which always
successful.
lead to much bigger successes
Yeah.
on the standalone films
Right.
because people get to see these characters interact and it creates more dynamic personalities and it gives the personalities more dimension and
Right.
and the characters get deeper, right? And the last episode we did, we talked about where does Peter Parker go from here, right? We were all talking about like is Peter going dark? Is he going to be the dark Peter Parker? Like we had the perfect opportunity to see something very new with Spider-Man if they kept him in the MCU. But now going back to Sony, who knows what the
Well,
fuck's
on
Yeah,
going on.
I
Sony's
really
point of
don't
view, they
trust-
already have a bunch of projects on the go, right? They're doing Venom 2 in 2020. There's
Right,
going to be,
right.
I don't know, Morbius. That looks like it's part of the Spider
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
universe.
I
There's going to be
definitely
a
don't
Spider-Verse
trust-
2.
Right.
They're doing a Black Cat movie. So they have all these other
Wow.
projects on the go.
Yeah.
And
I
they
didn't
have to
hear
make
about
sure
Black
that they're
Cat.
going to
That's
have
pretty
funding
cool.
for that. So if
I'm
they
down for
agree to
that.
the Disney deal, they're going to have to take money away from those things that they already
and I
have on the go.
wonder if they're
and in
having-
fact, they might have to scrap some of those projects
Yeah.
in order to pay Disney for the MCU films.
Mm.
So that's probably why they're taking such a hard stand because they
I'd-
already budgeted for those
I'd
other
rather
things.
have the entire creative bandwidth of Marvel and Disney than
From-
Sony's best films.
From
Absolutely,
a fan's
I agree with
perspective,
that.
I
Yeah,
agree
for
with
sure.
you.
Okay.
But
and
from a business perspective, Sony
Yeah.
has to take care of themselves, right?
also-
They have to
yeah,
make sure they're not
I
going to
agree
go
with
under
Christina
by
on that
agreeing to
one as well.
Disney's deal. And
Yeah.
I also agree with Chris. I think it's a lot of marketing to have everyone talking about this deal.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Yeah, and right now you can kind of say that
Obviously,
Disney is
creatively-
controlling the narrative a
Sorry?
bit. I said Disney is kind of
Oh, yeah.
controlling the narrative.
But they
at the
let
moment,
everything go
yeah.
out there. They could have kept things more secretive and stuff.
Yeah.
But in a way, in a way, Disney's not controlling the narrative because they didn't announce anything about Spider-Man at San Diego Comic-Con, and
Yeah.
everybody was expecting to hear something about Spider-Man.
Creatively, I
there.
definitely wanted obviously to stay with the MCU. Like Sony is just a dice roll. Like whether or not they make a good movie, it's like oh man. Even Venom. Like I enjoyed parts of Venom, but it's not nothing compared to like
Right.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Verse was really fun, but yeah, it's nothing
Did you
compared to
guys-
the Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, Spider-Verse is
film-
obviously
MCU
very good.
films.
Has anybody been following what Feige and Holland have been saying in the media? Because I read a couple things where Holland is basically kind of, towing the company line.
Yeah, he's been told like not to. He can't
Yeah.
say certain things
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
moment. The
It's
one
under
thing he did
contract,
say
isn't it?
was he said, "I love you 3000," and
Yeah.
that just broke my heart.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that meme of like Tom Holland like drinking and he's like, "This is me. Like this is me thinking about the fact that I have to see Uncle Ben die a third time."
I don't think they
So
would do a
funny.
reboot though.
No, I know they're not
Yeah.
going to, but like it's just funny because we've seen Uncle Ben die so many times just because they keep rebooting the goddamn series.
Yeah, like Christina said earlier, I do think that
Negotiations.
there's
are not over.
negotiations are not over,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
definitely from what I think they're really taking into account what the fans want because the fans want like Spider-Man to stay in the MCU, and I'm hoping they can come to some sort of deal. And
They're
I think
gonna. They're gonna.
at the end
for
of the day,
sure.
that's kind of what we all want.
we are in a time and era where consumers control everything. Like if somebody goes onto Rotten Tomatoes and douses your movie with less than 50%, that is going to hit your box office harder than you can imagine, right? Because that thing will just trickle down,
Yeah.
right?
We're also
And
the most manipulated like audience
sure,
ever as well.
sure, but
Because they have to in response to how much
Yeah,
power
yeah.
we have.
sure, but like as Christina's saying, we are in an economic climate where the control
Yeah,
is in the fans' hands,
for sure.
right? And they have to wake up and realize that.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who owns the property.
Yeah.
If you don't have the fucking fans, you're done.
Yeah, for sure.
You're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I think to wrap this up, Spider-Man. Well, I'm gonna address Sony and Disney actually. Guys, just like work it out, you know? Give
Work
each
it
other
out.
hugs. Let's go on a
Yeah.
weekend retreat.
Work it out. Like
You know,
Tony and
Go
couples
Cap.
therapy.
Some
Like
trust
Tony
falls.
and Cap in Endgame.
Yeah.
Work that shit
yeah.
out.
There you go.
Work that shit out. I don't know if it's gonna take a burner phone and a FedEx box from Stan Lee, but work that fucking shit out. Okay, so I guess on the Spider-Man issue, guys, there's really not much more to say. I think we kind of covered it all. I really think that I guess we just have to wait and see kind of what happens, and hopefully Disney gets their shit together and Sony gets their shit together, and they try and do what's right for the fans. Before we jump into the show, I just want to take a quick second here and just say that thank you so much to all you guys that have been listening to the show and sharing it with your friends, and if you've subscribed to us on Spotify or whatever platform you found us on, thank you again. We're very overwhelmed with the support that we've been getting, and we couldn't be happier. And if you get an opportunity, we would love if you could leave us a review. Be honest about your thoughts about the show. Because that will help us improve it and, improve our content. So we are giving you guys what you want. And that's why we're here. We're not professionals, we're not comedians trying to build a career or anything. We're just like you. We're a bunch of nerds that love talking about this stuff. And this is why we did this show. So besides all the Spider-Man stuff that was going on, there was a lot of news coming out of D23 about a lot of new a lot of announcements of the properties they've already announced, and a couple announcements of some new stuff. So let's start in no particular order. Let's get into WandaVision, guys. So apparently they released some artwork for the WandaVision show that's really giving away a lot of cues and a lot of hints as to what this show is going to be like and what the show is going to be about. And let's get into it. Let's analyze this. So my first impression is we talked about this on a previous show. I threw it up on our Instagram the other day that we nailed this. It was basically going to be like a kind of Pleasantville thing with this program, and I think that's almost what we see in the image. Wouldn't you guys say?
For
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, it looks like that.
It gave me those vibes, and it's really interesting. Just if you sort of get into the final or the little details of the poster itself, like if you look at the shadow, like in the corner, which is basically like Wanda's actual outfit, and then the red glowing of the TV, and this sort of picturesque setting, not looking as picturesque as it should. I think that's really interesting. It's definitely going to be a departure from a lot of the other Marvel things we've seen on the movies in the MCU so far, and I think a lot of these shows will be. But I know that around the table there's some interesting theories about maybe where this show could go and what it could be.
So I did have, so I was like, I don't know. For me, the poster was fantastic. It looked really cool, but it gave us more questions than answers, really, because it gave us the tone of the show, but what the heck is going on, right? Like
Yeah.
this fits nowhere in the universe. So I was like starting to think about like what this could be. And in the comics, like Wanda is very very powerful, of course, and she can manipulate reality, but but it doesn't really coincide with the Wanda that we have here. But what I was thinking was that like, what if after all the trauma that she's been through, after like losing her brother, losing her cyborg android.
Yeah.
more android
Mandroid.
boyfriend.
Yeah, which
Mandroid.
is very
Um,
painful.
What
The
if
Mandroid.
she's like coping by like making this Pleasantville, quote unquote Pleasantville, for herself, and like everybody in here is just in a collective, um, I don't say delusion, but like collective mind control that Wanda is kind of like created for
That
herself.
she's like that strong. I think there's a lot of merit in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's definitely that
Because when
strong.
you're looking at the poster, it looks like sort of like the original golden age of like television,
Yeah.
like this idea of like this perfect life, and for her to like she has experienced so much trauma. Like that's very clear to see. She's very young still. Like a lot of the other Avengers are older, and she sort of has to now face
Yeah.
this alone. So the idea of her creating her own world doesn't seem too out there. And the fact that this leads into Doctor Strange, this show could be like slowly the world is like deconstructing around her
Yeah,
kind of
like
thing.
her utopia will start falling apart as she like comes to terms with her trauma. Man, that would be really
I
cool.
know.
I was kind of getting a Stranger Things vibe
Oh.
when I saw it, so
Yeah.
I think that would kind of fall in line with this theory as well. Then you would kind of see the world cracking
Like the upside down or
or
something.
matching
Yeah.
her mental state. So, and we know that Wanda does have a propensity to kind of do that, to kind of lose control of things as time goes on. So,
Very emotional character.
Yeah.
Like one of her.
Yeah,
one of her-
definitely emotional and definitely reactionary. Have you guys considered that? Okay, so when we first got introduced to Wanda in Age of Ultron, her powers were already insanely strong,
Right.
right? Like she had the powers to influence the Avengers and basically pull them out of their own realities and put them into these visions that she created, right? And Chris has got a great point because Chris is talking about her pulling in other people around her into this false reality that she's creating for herself to kind of as this kind of catharsis, right? So she could definitely do that. And building off of Saba's point, maybe Doctor Strange is the one that kind of pulls her out of that. Maybe
Oh yeah, it could like because those we do know the show is connected.
yeah.
Like it's a 6-hour prequel to the Doctor Strange's movie.
Exactly. That's exactly what these shows are probably going to be is like like a prequel, like 6 hours of lead up story into these things. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Marvel has been doing prequel comic books to all the movie drops that they've been doing. And not a lot of people have read those, but they are definitely in the like they're definitely not shy about creating a story before the bigger story, right? So yeah, that could definitely be a possibility. Now, what do you guys think about how Vision fits into all this? Like, we're under the
I would-
impression he's dead, right?
I would love it if she creates a vision, right?
Okay.
And like she like the fans obviously wouldn't know it, or the audience probably wouldn't know it, but as her world falls apart and she like I mean if we're taking this like theory as a starting point, what if like Vision is she just makes a new vision for herself because she can't cope with it, and like as her world slowly crumbles and she finds her way back to reality, she has to finally like let him go,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I'm really feeling that. I think
Yeah,
that's so
wow.
real for like how people go through trauma as well. Is a whole denial stage where you
Yep.
want to like cling on to this thing, and
Yeah.
but then you
If I
realize
had her
like
powers, I'd make Pleasantville.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
or even more. So it's like the only way to really move on and to let go of Vision. Like this whole show could just be that, like her learning to say goodbye and like letting go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
well, there's that red glow around the TV, so maybe
Yeah.
that could hint that somehow Vision is going to communicate to her through
Appliances.
and devices.
Oh,
Like we
jeez.
thought, like people suspected.
Yeah, fan theory
Um,
confirmed.
It could be. I just think it's interesting because then my thing is okay. So who was like the villain? I'm doing quotes here for those who can't see me because usually these shows have a villain.
Yeah.
So is the Wanda's villain like herself, like her own mind? In this
Yeah.
show?
We haven't been introduced to anybody else
that
that
would
could
be-
potentially be a villain, right?
That would be
So-
out there, but that would be amazing if they could.
Yeah,
pull
that would.
100%.
That would.
And like, I don't think I don't know if it was just a theory, but I don't think this has a superhero feel to it, does it?
It
Like
it
it's not,
doesn't.
right? It's.
I don't think-
sounding like it's going to be a sitcom.
Yeah, because they casted
I thought it was a
Catherine.
play off a sitcom.
It's a playoff of like a 50s sitcom. That's
Yeah.
what Paul Bettany said. And they've even casted characters like Catherine Hahn, who I absolutely love, as like the nosy neighbor. Like they have people fitting these parts. And we know there's other people who have also been casted that are in like the other Marvel movies. So we have Who's the character's name? You love her, Chris.
Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings.
Right.
I do
Who's been
love
cast?
her.
Who we know?
Darcy.
Darcy from
Darcy, yeah.
Thor.
So
Yeah.
so I was actually wondering about that because Darcy's a scientist, and what if like she's in there because what's his name, Eric
Eric Selvig.
Selvig
Yeah.
like sends her there, and like what if I don't know, like this is
It
all
could,
obviously
yeah.
just out there, but like what if she gets sent in there to try to break her out of this reality?
But what if she gets like
But like
sucked
that's not her
in?
area of expertise, of course. But
Yeah, or she could have just been like sucked in, or
she does play her character Darcy, right? She's not just
I think she's cast as
Yeah,
Darcy.
yeah,
Oh,
she's
okay.
cast as Darcy.
Because Randall Park also got cast, and he was in Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, he was the
originally.
FBI agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's also in there. So I don't know.
he's hilarious. By
I
the
wonder-
way,
He was great. He was great in that.
Oh, I have an idea. This is something
Shoot.
that hit me.
Yeah,
What if like
shoot.
the show is like two parts? Like one part is like Wanda being in this trance, and the other part is like the people on the outside trying to like get her out of this trance. Like maybe the world that she's creating in her head is like messing with the real world.
right?
You know, so we could maybe see like these two sides of things, and maybe like Darcy's character and then Randall Park's character, or I mean, well, Kat Dennings' character is Darcy, could be working together. I don't know. They're just throwing out ideas,
Well-
but it could be.
So kind of like Sucker Punch.
Yeah,
It-
kind of like Sucker Punch. That
The
was
way-
like
the way
that movie.
Chris's face,
Well, guys,
guys.
there's that shadow on the wall, so
which is
it
her.
looks ominous. That
Yeah.
shadow on the wall looks pretty ominous. What do we think about that?
I think that's like her costume. Like
That's
she's
her
wearing
Yeah, it's her-
traditional
it's her tradi-
headgear.
So
yeah.
So does that mean she's lending more to like the Wanda that she is in the comics then, which she has
Pretty
these powers.
terrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
yeah,
they're
I don't
gonna build
know.
that up. I think they're gonna build up Wanda as she is in the comic
Yeah.
books, and they're gonna add that to her character in this show.
What if Catherine Hahn is the enemy and she's taken on the guise of this neighbor?
Like she's infiltrated her world.
Yeah, just to make sure that she stays in this state.
Oh.
Oh,
You know what? Because you know what? That makes kind of more sense. Because Catherine Hahn is like an amazing actress, and just
Yeah.
to cast her as like a simple sort of
Yeah.
like the nosy neighbor,
Yeah.
there has to be more to her character.
Is there another powerful psychic that could keep her trapped in this world and also maybe project
Yeah.
themselves into
Jean
it?
Grey is like the only
Oh, yeah.
one.
no,
But she wouldn't do that. Jean Grey
Emma
wouldn't do
Frost.
that.
If Emma Frost
yeah,
was
Emma
in the
Frost too.
universe,
that's
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Well,
would love that.
Yeah.
Did
that would be a
say-
good introduction.
That
to
would be
her
a good
character.
bad guy.
They did say mutants could, but I don't know is this too early. Well, maybe not because the show's not coming
The
out.
show
for like a
drops
year.
in 2021, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like. I would love if this was the entrance of the X-Men.
Well, I would love if it was the entrance of Emma Frost and the mutants. That would be amazing.
But I think we'll see. There's already been chatter that the Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange one, is going to be the entrance of some of the Marvel characters that we haven't gotten yet, in terms of the X-Men. So that may be the entrance point. But yeah, no, I think we all have got some interesting theories here. The other one, before we move on, I'll throw out is what if the big bad isn't even on camera? What if the big bad is the one that has Wanda in this state,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and also, I think this should be considered as well. Does it take place after Endgame or does it take place before Endgame?
Like
Oh.
maybe like you mean if it's inside the snap or something?
No, before like is it during? Well, that too, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But also like where does it take place in the timeline? Because we see Wanda at the end of Endgame.
So something has
Being
happened to her. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's completely like I would say she's pretty emotionally together, wouldn't you guys?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of Endgame?
I think she was like ready for the fight for
Yeah.
sure. In the same way Thor was like holding it together as long as there was an enemy to crush.
Yeah.
And as soon as the fight was over,
Yeah.
she like falls apart or whatever. But like so like with Spider-Man came back from the snap, and he was pretty much the one that like explained to the audience what happened to everybody from the snap. And
Yeah.
for them it was an instant. Like
Yeah.
it was like they died, like he died on Titan, or he got like snapped on Titan, and then he woke up. It was an instant for them.
Right.
So whether or not it's different for Wanda would be the question if that theory
Yeah.
is to stand.
Yeah.
But like it's pretty. I think it's pretty established by Peter's lines that it's like it's an instant for them. Like,
Right.
like they don't know.
Right.
I guess like for Wanda, it's like, she just lost Vision.
Right.
Like for her, she just lost Vision like a second ago, right?
Right.
Like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So it's like she hasn't had time. It was still shocked. Like she's still shocked, and it's still like anger. So I don't think that like she's had the time to cope.
Right.
So like after Thanos has been dealt with, then I think she would fall apart if that is what she's gonna do. You know what I mean?
Okay.
What if it was the actual past and it's lining up with
Mm.
Captain America's life somehow? Roger's life.
Holy
no,
shit.
Well, no, because like she's not that old, right? If she lived in the
Oh,
she's not
50s,
old enough.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's definitely some. I mean, for all we know, it could just be like another timeline altogether because of the whole like multiple.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like,
it's
I don't think
pure-
so
yeah.
because we're very connected to this. We're very connected to this Wanda,
Right.
and it's like if you just throw a different Wanda, it's not the same. Like with Loki, it's like you can throw in another Loki because the
We've
Loki
seen him.
character, it's like we've seen it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but Wanda, it's like if you throw in another Wanda, we don't connect with that Wanda, right? So
Yeah.
I think it would be weird for them to throw in a different Wanda. I think it needs to be this one because we
Yeah.
grew with this.
In
one.
my mind, it's after Endgame. I don't know how they're gonna do it. It could be, I know, when like maybe like a slow digression into this place. Like she thinks she's fine, and then she
Mhm.
imagines like a world where he's still there, and then after a while she like keeps imagining it and like gets stuck in it. Like it
Yeah.
could. I mean, it could be any
Yeah.
sort of way.
Yeah.
In my head, it takes place after. I feel like it would make more sense going into Doctor Strange that it was after
Yeah.
because, but I don't know how she gets there. That's
Was
a good
she one of
point.
the characters who was snapped?
She was.
was.
Yeah.
Oh, she
Oh.
was. Yeah.
So maybe it's a different world that and had to do with the fact that she was snapped away. Maybe it's where she was. Maybe the people who were snapped weren't actually fully gone.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying about the whole Spider-Man thing was that like for Spider-Man, there wasn't. Oh, I guess they could just lose their memory. Like that is an
Yeah.
explanation. But like pretty much Spider-Man explained to the audience that
Yeah.
the people that got snapped just went on a 1 second power nap.
Yeah,
And they all
because then
woke
when
up.
he was like when he was talking to Tony again, he's like, "Oh, like that, like Doctor Strange guy was there, and like
Yeah.
he told us we had to like go back, and like
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah,
I
he
was really
doesn't remember
confused."
anything, but I guess like Peter doesn't have magic, right? It's like
No.
Doctor Strange has magic, and in a certain way, like so does Wanda. So maybe like that could be a possibility because
Mhm.
they're more powerful in that realm.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
well,
Yeah.
I think we all can agree that the possibilities are limitless as far as this show goes, just based on Wanda's, personal,
Yeah.
power set and how her mind works and her telepathic abilities and
Yeah.
all that. So, yeah, that's going to be a cool show. I
would
think we're all
definitely-
excited to see that.
I would definitely hope that it's after because if it's not after,
Yeah,
we're
Yeah.
all just gonna be asking by the end of the season, like, oh man, what's happening to her right now,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. So
That
I
might
hope
be a
that's the
good thing
case.
if they want to do more seasons of her show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can keep going. I think no matter.
It's only 6 episodes, I heard. So
Yeah, miniseries. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next one up is the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Just some new news coming out about this show. Anthony Mackie apparently got measured for his costume or fitted for his costume, whether that's just the Falcon in some hybrid of Captain America or just Captain America. Nobody's really saying. But he's gone on record and say, "I am the Falcon. I will always be the Falcon." When people have been asking him about, is he going to be the new Captain America? So, what the hell, guys? Like, we see him take the mantle of Captain America at the end of Endgame, and now we have this show where we think we're going to see Anthony Mackie evolve into Captain America. So, why isn't that what the narrative is being told to us right now? What's going on?
It's really weird that he said never. I'm always gonna be the Falcon because I can see them like I can see him like keeping the moniker of Falcon at least for a while, and like maybe ascending to. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird.
maybe he didn't choose his words carefully. I'm one of those people who
Yeah.
uses the term always when I don't always mean always.
Yeah. And it could just mean, the way that I was thinking about it is, it could just be him saying like, I'm true to that character. Like I'm
Right.
not just going to be another Steve Rogers, right? And he couldn't be another Steve Rogers because there's only one. So it could be in terms of that, not necessarily like not picking up the Captain America mantle. And I guess it's maybe mean something else in like the MCU, like the mantle of Captain America. I don't know if they're gonna do that. So he's like still Falcon, but maybe Captain America means you're like the leader of the
The leader,
Avengers.
yeah, for sure.
Well, we see him like within the context of the comic book. Sam Wilson does become Captain America, and he has wings, but he is Captain America. So it's a hybrid kind of Falcon Captain America kind of costume.
And it's reflected with the new
Yeah.
picture of him, because he
Yeah.
actually changes his suit.
Yeah, but we don't see the chest logo though, too, right? He's on a kind of an angle where we can't
Yeah.
really make anything out,
That's
right? But we also see Bucky. His hair's gone shorter. His
he's
uniform
rocking that.
is a lot less
Boy got a haircut.
Yeah.
That's
emo boy. um,
I like his
And-
haircut.
and
I liked him dark.
you like dark. You like the
No,
dark, mysterious.
I
Yeah.
like, new hair gel Bucky, figuring out how to live his life.
No, I liked him greasy and maybe riding a motorcycle.
I'm down for the motorcycle. We are both agreeing on the motorcycle. Not so much. I didn't mind the last hair, but I think it's like sort of hearkening to like the old Bucky, and it's like him trying to find himself again, or like,
I think that's a good call. I definitely think that's a good call. He's shedding the skin
He's cleaning
skin
up
of the
his act.
assassin. Yeah, no,
legit.
for sure.
It's like anytime like you go through a new phase, in movies how like girls cut their hair and whatever. Like this is Bucky's version
I think that
of that.
happens in real life too.
Yeah,
People cut their hair when they're going through something.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but does this maybe open up the door for the consideration of Bucky Barnes becoming Captain America? Because like we've seen at Comic-Con on the stage, they were kind of like playfully passing the shield back and forth. And we've also seen, there's also been consideration of Bucky being Captain America because he is a super soldier essentially too, right?
I think
So-
at the end of Endgame, he didn't seem to want to be Captain America. It seemed like he was totally fine with
I think you're right about
Falcon
that,
kind
yeah.
of being, but I think he will be a mentor to Falcon. And I don't know, in my
Or
mind,
the other way around.
oh, okay.
Like either or. Like they
Either
both
or,
I think
help
they're
each
just
other.
partners, honestly.
Yeah, like help
So-
each other grow.
Yeah, but I think in some ways, like Bucky's gonna be the new mentor just because he's like the older guy, and I don't know. I think that element is gonna be there, and yeah, I think it could also mean that they're kind of both Captain America in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a first step to him forgiving himself and becoming like making himself I don't want to sound like a Thor story here, but like making himself like worthy again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because like the look of the haircut, like, we're definitely looking too far into this, but the look of the old hair was very iconic to the Winter Soldier, like rogue character.
hmm
Right? And now it's like it's him trying to be old Bucky, and it's like, and I do think that like somewhere down the line, like he will inherit the shield, just like Robin in Young Justice, if you guys have ever seen it. Like he gives up his fight for the leadership of the Young Justice to Aqualad, but Aqualad tells him like, this is yours, you're gonna inherit this when you're ready. I'm just the right candidate right now.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like it's the same thing here, where it's like you were the childhood friend of Steve Rogers, but like I'm
His
the
new
right
friend.
candidate right
Yeah.
now, right? Because I'm a soldier in this world. You just woke up from like
Yeah.
your assassination days.
Exactly. Like he still has a lot of stuff I think he needs to fix and then like deal with before he sort of carries the mantle of Captain America. And the way I see it going is like I don't think it's going to be like a smooth sailing friendship. I mean, I love the way that they are with each other, but we've seen in the movies before like there is this like back and forth, and so they're both kind of like what's left of like Steve Rogers in
Yep.
this world. So I think like they're more forced to be together more than them wanting to, and I think we're going to see them maybe develop like more of like a trusting relationship or more of that friendship. I think it'll be interesting to see because like Steve like saw something like special in like both of them. I guess the way I'm like talking about it sounds weird, but
Yeah, and I think we get that. I think there's a buddy cop kind of tone to this
Yeah.
show too,
100%.
right? But they're introducing other characters. Sharon Carter is coming back
Mhm.
to the show, and she'll be playing a role. I think she'll be associated with the CIA in some way. Chris mentioned off mic a couple times that he thinks that you were saying something about maybe she's helping him kind of stay under the radar.
Yeah, because he is still like it. To the fans, he's been vindicated from the crimes of trying to blow up the summit because it was Zemo all along. But does the world know that if he's still a wanted man, right? Like,
Exactly.
does the world know that like he's actually been framed and been mind
Yeah.
controlled this whole time? Like Sharon Carter might be helping him, just much like she did in Civil War, to stay under the radar and like
And
as a
that
respect
could
to
also
Steve.
be why he can't take on the mantle of Captain America
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
he'll
That's
be
a
out
good
of the
point.
spotlight that
Maybe
way.
that's why
Right.
he got the haircut, so
Yeah.
people just like don't
Right.
recognize him.
Right. And
Yeah, if we're talking about like Steve Rogers giving up like the name Captain America to like the symbol of Captain America, the moniker of Captain America, you can't give it to like an assassin that worked for Hydra. Like it's like he can't like the whole point of giving that away is like because he's a symbol to the people,
tough
right?
sell.
Right? And it's like what symbol are we trying to sell if
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And then we're seeing the reemergence. Well, we're going to see the return of Baron Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, who made his debut in Civil War, with his crazy Machiavellian pulling strings from behind the scenes plot that created that collision between Tony and Cap in the end, where he basically set it up so it was revealed that Bucky was the assassin of
Howard Stark.
Howard Stark and Tony's mom.
hmm
So we get to see this character return, and apparently he's going to be rocking that iconic purple mask from the comic books.
Yeah, that's interesting that they went that way. Just because like there have been masks used in the MCU, but this
Most
one,
of them have been justified.
yeah,
Like they spent a lot of time wisely so to justify, just like with Captain America in Avengers, Coulson had to justify like why he should wear the mask and the suit. He's like if you guys remember, like Captain America was against it. He's like, isn't that a little old fashioned? And Coulson says like, yeah, we need old fashioned. We need your symbol. And like they have been justifying the usage of like masks. And I know a lot of people like didn't like how Hawkeye didn't get his iconic costume. He's like whatever, but I was never against it because it'd be pretty goofy that this like
hmm
secret agent dude who has no business having this suit just like dons it. You know what
I know.
mean?
It's like this is a fashion statement that I'm
Yeah.
making right now.
I think it could work for a villain. I think
It might,
villains
yeah.
are
It
doing
might.
bad
But-
things and they don't want people to know who they are.
But people
so-
know who Baron Zemo, unless he's like assuming
Yeah,
like a
but-
new thing and like.
No, and
know.
it's weird too because like in the comics he's like a baron. He's actually like a rich dude.
And those are his, like-
but like here he's like a spec ops agent, like a
Yeah,
spec
for
ops. Like,
Sokovia.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like you're like a soldier too, right? So it's like it's weird that and it's also weird that it's purple.
He just
Yeah.
wants like he just thinks the color looks good on him. Maybe.
But I guess like staying true to the like I'm sure they've
Or
done
maybe
their
it's like a
homework and they're
cultish
staying
thing
true.
and he's trying to get followers or something.
It could be his like family crest, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it might just be this purple color of his like lineage or something.
Yeah, they'll have
We'll
to
see what
like
we do.
find one way because like if they don't bring up that costume once, it's not a Falcon and Bucky show. Like
Yeah.
if they don't.
So, jumping ahead a little bit, the next series we got an update on is the Loki live action series starring Tom Hiddleston. And guys, the first question I think we need to talk about is we've seen a lot of fandom pundits and commentary shows and fan shows discussing the idea that Loki's going to be time traveling in this show, but the fact remains that the Tesseract, the device that he escaped with, doesn't allow the user time travel. It allows him
Space travel.
right? He can teleport places. But then again, at Comic-Con, Kevin Feige releases this image, this teaser image, and it's Tom Hiddleston kind of in his little, suit and tie, the whole black mystique that he rocks, standing underneath a marquee for the Jaws movie. So basically putting him in the 70s. With like 70s cabs and all kinds of stuff around him that really indicates that this is the timeline in which Loki is in this context. So yeah, like where do we go?
Yeah. Does the space stone mean you can travel to different multiverses? Could you essentially do that?
I thought about that, but if it was like traveling to different realities, there is a reality stone that does that. So I don't see it being within its capabilities, but I don't know.
So you
I
can
don't
travel
f-
to different places within the same
Yes.
dimension and within the same time frame.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you
And only
wanted to like
manipulate
transport
space.
to another planet, you
But
could. Yeah.
We did talk. off mic, we did talk about how this ties in with Loki being wanted by Thanos, and he owes Thanos 2 stones. So maybe
And a
at
planet.
some point in time, he's going to acquire one of these other stones that will allow him to time
Yeah,
travel.
and plus we got to remember the context of it being 2012 too. So we're talking about 2012 Loki. We're talking about 2012 stakes because at the end of Avengers is like when he disappears. So he's just lost the planet Earth that he was going to turn over to Thanos. He just lost the Space Stone, which Thanos wants. He just lost the Mind Stone that Thanos
he's
wanted.
not in a good spot.
Right? He's
Yeah,
not
So
in a
his
good
motive
spot.
should be to collect more stones.
on
That
the
motive
run.
is there.
I think it might just be to run away from Thanos, honestly,
Yeah,
because
I-
Thanos is gonna come after him hard. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Oh
it's
my
going
gosh,
to
I
be.
might throw the Tesseract and run.
I think Loki knows that eventually Thanos will find him.
Yeah, I don't think he feels safe from Thanos.
Yeah.
I think that's why he, like, if there's any motivation for him to grab that Tesseract and pop out of that scene the way he did in Endgame,
Yeah.
one is he's going back to Asgard to face Odin for what he did, and two is fucking Thanos finds him. He's done. That's it.
yeah,
Right.
which makes me think he won't go back to Asgard because I think he'd be like, well, that's the first place
right.
I would go.
Right.
Which with the Jaws poster being there, it's like he stays on Earth maybe, and I don't know really how the time sort of frame sort of works there. But I do think it's interesting that we're going to have the 2012 Loki who hasn't gone through the character growth we've seen him
Right.
gone through, and see if he'll get there again, if he'll have like a different type of growth,
Right.
and to see him finally like away from like Thor.
From Thor, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of his story is very informed by his relationship to Thor, and it's like, and his growth is like his confrontation with Thor essentially. But now he's gonna have to grow without the source of his inferiority complex and a whole host of other.
Well, it really bothered me that he grabbed the Tesseract and disappeared in Endgame, and I was one of the people who was like, "What the hell? Why?"
You're like, you asked that
So-
question a lot, but like,
so
where
many
did Loki
times,
go?
I was so bothered by it.
Why?
Like that's such a gap in. Well, but it just seemed there was too much focus on it in the movie, and I just had a lot of questions. So I'm glad that they're finally going to tell us what happened.
Well, when
with
they
that.
they announced the Loki series before
Yeah,
Endgame
before.
hit, right?
And
So
when-
that's their
Well,
device.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw Endgame and I saw Loki take the Tesseract, and I was like, "What the
Yeah,
heck?"
it was a pretty awesome moment for me in the theater where I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's
how
where
they
the
bring-
show's gonna start.
And
Yeah.
I remember when everybody was like, "Oh, he didn't actually kill Loki. It was whatever. It was an illusion, or
Yeah.
he's Bruce Banner, or whatever."
Yeah.
Like this is a way better explanation, and now we can fuck around this entire other universe without any real consequences
Yeah.
to like the main timeline.
I'm also really excited to see where he goes and who he interacts with. So when he steps through that portal, what's on the
What's
other
the first thing he
side?
sees?
I'm so excited for this.
Where like where does he go, right?
Yeah.
Like where can he go that Thanos won't hear about him? That's the question too.
That's so true. Maybe
Right?
that's why I'm like,
And-
maybe he stays on Earth because Thanos' first thought would be like, oh, for sure he's
Yeah.
like getting out of here. 100%.
Yeah.
So then he knows what the Tesseract can do, right? So
Oh, yeah, he
he
does.
already has in mind a place that he wanted to go when he created that portal and disappeared.
And at this point, the time stone is still
In play.
in play as
yeah.
well on Earth.
Yep.
Ancient One has it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
maybe
Steve
we'll
has
see.
just brought it back after using it, right?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
other places would 2012 Loki know about that are not Asgard and that are not?
He can literally go anywhere. He can
Yeah.
go into the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like realm. He can go to Xandar, even though like he probably doesn't know this, but like I mean he definitely doesn't know this, but like Thanos destroys Xandar. But like as far as he knows, it's a safe haven, right? Like we don't know. He could go anywhere, which
Yeah,
is like
and we
what
can't
makes
really
this show
predict
so
what
interesting.
Loki does ever, which is why I love him as
Yeah.
a character. You really don't know if he's going to choose the good
What
or
if he
bad.
goes back to Thor Ragnarok place? What is that fucking
Oh
place
yeah,
called?
with Grandmaster with
Sakar?
Yeah,
Scar.
Sakaar. What if he goes back there by accident and he's like, "Oh, this is a pretty awesome place," and then he meets like Beta Ray Bill and all that.
yeah.
That would be dope. Yeah, so it sounds like, again, this is another show that kind of is a blank slate and really anything could happen. And we're talking about magical and fantastical things because that's what Loki's character's power set is. It's magic and the ability to, use magic to manipulate people. So the show looks like it's going to run 6 episodes and it's premiering in 2021. So we got a little bit of while to wait. So the next one is What If, the animated series that they're doing, 23 episodes. The first show that's going to jump off, the first episode is going to be an imagining of Peggy Carter becoming Captain Carter, which essentially is just another name for um, her replacing Steve Rogers in the Super Soldier program. So she's going to be the subject. She's going to become the Super Soldier. She's going to get the shield. And yeah, so that sounds exciting to me. I like the fact that we're going back to a very rich period in the Marvel universe.
Hmm.
We're talking about Howard Stark. We're talking about Hank Pym too. There's a lot of things that they can touch on within that time period that I think would be really cool. And the fact that Peggy Carter, Haley Atwell is getting our swan song.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And I think it's cool that they're doing 23 episodes for each movie.
Yeah.
And I really love the what if because it's like anything can happen. The thing that is interesting about this one is that with Peggy Carter already being like such an iconic character and so important for Endgame, really, when you see like how that movie ends with basically like Steve Rogers going back to her to sort of get more into that character. And for her to be at the place she is at that time is like crazy. Like, there's not a lot of women who would ascend to sort of that leadership role. And
Right.
to see her like even push back past that,
Right.
I think it'll be really interesting.
Right. Yeah. And we hear in Civil War when Sharon Carter is giving her eulogy for Peggy, you hear about all the amazing things she accomplished, right? You hear about her meeting John F. Kennedy, you hear about her establishing Shield. There's like so many things where we'll get to see her do as Captain Carter. So she won't just be a bureaucrat. She'll almost be a super bureaucrat in a way, which is kind of neat.
So I kind of like the premise of that first show, but I don't know. In general, what if isn't too exciting to me because they're kind of just random standalone things that don't
Yeah.
tie into anything.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't really
I
have
don't
a
know.
serialized vibe to it for sure.
It definitely is like more like kind of like fan fiction,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, you just, Chris is like, I always gotta bring it back to fan fiction.
We gotta have a fan fiction counter.
Well,
I guess if they're 40-minute episodes or 40 something like that,
I
it might be
personally
okay.
love these like anthology things that don't really have a consequence because like the limits there is no limits, like, you know what I mean, like there's like you can just imagine anything, and we've already had like amazing segment, or we've already had like an amazing time looking at things that they could do, and it's like, and I want them to like really dive into like some crazy things, like what if Project Insight works, and like
Yeah.
in America and the rest of the world is just living in this like Hydra controlled existence where it's like anything that they do is just answered by Project Insight. And it's like how crazy would that be, right? You
yeah,
know what
as
I
soon
mean?
as you become an enemy of the state,
Just
you
shoot
go
you
on the
down.
Project Insight list, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
What
yeah.
if Tony like didn't go back and help them and didn't undo the
Yeah,
snap?
I like that.
Yeah, that'd
Or
be
what
great.
if different characters survive the snap? I guess that could be interesting. But
Mhm.
That'd be cool. I think the one that I'm most excited to see, based on the list of actors actually contributing their voices, because the whole series is going to be voiced by actual MCU cast, and the one that I'm excited to see is going to be Michael B. Jordan coming back as
Yes.
Killmonger.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, the storyline of, and we don't know if this is the actual what if storyline, but one we'd like to see is if T'Chaka took his character, took Killmonger, and raised him like as his own and brought him back to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Because just like leaving him there, and what relationship would it be? Would it be like a Thor
Or
Loki?
Loki, yeah.
Would it be a brotherhood?
it almost feels like one episode would be so short to explore that, though.
It would be for sure. It
I
wouldn't
think
be
they
long
can do
enough,
it.
but I think they would find like a way because I don't know if these like episodes will have like a definite conclusion. I'm not sure if
Unless
it'll
they could contribute to some of the alternate universes. What if they tied into the multiverses somehow?
I think it would be. I think it would get a little bit messy if they did that. But honestly, like Black Mirror and all those anthology shows, like they don't seem like they're open ended. Like I think they can tell a
Yeah.
story. Like they can take a snapshot of a story right in the middle and show us, and like people are like happy with it, right?
Yeah.
If you have, I don't know if you guys ever seen Black Mirror, but like their stories,
Oh, I love it.
have always
Yeah.
been like
Love Black Mirror.
good,
I hear good
self-contained
things
stories,
about
yeah.
it, so I
Yeah.
think if it's on par with something like that, it could be good.
And
It's
I just think
fantastic.
for that Black Panther episode, like how like sad would it be to see like if they were to actually like have a brotherhood and be like happy for each other, and to see like T'Challa rise and like have Killmonger support him. I think like how sad would that be? Because like all of this could have been avoided if like one thing had changed.
Right.
I don't know if they'll go on like this is just like sort of our like ideas that we came up for the show, but like I think it can get really interesting with what if like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, along with the new information about the existing programs that we already know about, we got 3 new announcements for 3 new shows, and that's She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Moon Knight. So let's take a quick little dive into these and discuss expectations and kind of speculate as to what we're going to get with these shows. So let's start with She-Hulk. So if you don't know the origin of She-Hulk, it's kind of simple. She gets shot. She's a lawyer. Her name's Jennifer Walters. She gets shot, and to save her life, her cousin Bruce Banner, the Hulk, has to provide a blood transfusion. So his gamma radiated blood flowing through her
Whose
veins.
idea was that?
I said this before, but if my cousin did that, I would be so mad. So because I have like 30 cousins, out of all my cousins, like like it would have to be last minute.
Yeah. Like whose bright idea? Whose doctor? Like who's her doctor? It was just like, oh, let's just get this guy. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He's green.
Yeah,
His blood is green too. It's fine.
Let's get the monster to give
Yeah.
her a blood transfusion.
the
It
hell
doesn't
did
have
they-
to be a relative. She could have gotten a blood transfusion from like anyone
Yeah,
else.
does she not have siblings?
Just a matching
how
blood
the
type.
hell did they get blood from the Hulk?
I know.
Like, what needle are you guys using?
This is the interesting thing that Christina sort of talked about off mic is that timelines like when does this take place? And so we were all assuming like this takes place after the snap.
Right.
But you had the idea
An
that like
excellent
what if
point.
it's like pre-snap, like during the
Yeah.
5 years?
No. Post snap, but pre Endgame is what she said.
Pre-Endgame.
So to
So-
me,
yeah, so-
yeah.
I'm sad that Hulk. We didn't get to see a movie where Hulk becomes this like more
Professor
mature
Hulk, yeah.
person in Endgame. So I would love to see that journey. So if this gives us some insight into Hulk's journey to Professor Hulk, then to me that will be interesting. But otherwise, I don't really see She-Hulk as that interesting of a character. I don't know, but
And especially in light of Professor Hulk being in the same like universe, because it's like I've always liked the difference between She-Hulk and Hulk, where She-Hulk has never been a rage monster. Like she's like stays a lawyer even though she's green and terrifying. But like with Professor Hulk being around, I guess like they would have like a pretty cool relationship, but I would have rather have like rage monster Hulk.
so because she stays level-headed, maybe she influences his
or the other way
choices or
around,
his
yeah.
journey to become
'Cause
Professor
it's
Hulk. That
easier
could be interesting
when you're not going through it alone. And I think
Yeah.
that makes sense because we didn't really see how he got to Professor Hulk. Like we saw him with this issue.
Yeah.
We saw he
She could
couldn't-
help him with that.
Yeah,
for
like we
sure.
saw he couldn't change into the Hulk anymore. And so maybe this show is like showing how he kind of got there, but also like more about her. But like,
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I think
Like
he
it
just
shows him that it could be done, and then he like ends up like
That would be cool.
Yeah.
it shows so much. It's so much
Yeah, that would be
character
cool.
development. So I would just love to see like how did he get to a mental state where he could accept himself? Because I think his state of mind, he was very insecure. He couldn't accept this person who he was, and somehow he came around to it. So
Yeah. So the internet's already talking about who they would cast as their ideal She-Hulk, and the one person that's getting a lot of chatter is Rosario Dawson,
oh,
who was the night nurse in the Netflix MCU.
yeah, Luke Cage.
Luke Cage and
The
Iron
Defenders,
Fist
essentially.
and Defenders. So that could be interesting, but I don't know how they justify. Well, you could justify it if
Yeah,
you
I
got
have,
creative,
like,
but
I have relatives that like are different, like are half and like don't like are not the same skin color as me at all.
right.
So I feel like
yeah.
it could definitely, in
Yeah.
that terms, I could see it being justified.
Now, do we see? Okay, so we've been talking about possibly seeing a bigger story with the Hulk within the content within the narrative of the She-Hulk show. Do we see Mark Ruffalo make an appearance on this show? Do you think?
I think so.
I do. Yeah.
I think
I
it'll,
mean, if it's an origin story, I think they don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Because then how else, if she gets it like the same way he got it without like him being there,
yeah.
I just don't think it would make
And
sense.
also, they must be doing this to somehow tie her into the MCU. Why would they just bring this character in otherwise? I
Yeah.
don't think they would do that. So there must be a reason why they're bringing her around.
Well, she becomes an active member of the Avengers. She fights with the Fantastic Four at one point, and she's also part of A-Force too. And now there's rumors about an A-Force movie. And if you don't know what
Oh, really?
A-Force is, it's an all-female Avengers team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that may be these might be the catalysts to kind of make this entry and make this happen. So the next one in line is Miss Marvel, which is really exciting because we're talking about a show that's going to be dedicated to the first female person of color within the comic book superhero genre, which I think is really cool. And I know that we have somebody at this table that has a deep personal passion for this character. So I'm gonna let
It's
Saba
me.
take over.
Oh.
I really do love Kamala Khan and her character. It's something I started reading her a while back, and yeah, it's not just like her being like obviously like being a person of color in her story. So Kamala Khan, for those of you who don't know, is Miss Marvel. She sort of picks up Carol Danvers' old mantle. She's from New Jersey. She's 16-year-old. She's a big gamer, so she'll talk and gamer speak a lot. She's a fangirl. She also likes to make sound effects when she's punching things, which is
Awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Which is
she's
like-
adorable. I
which is
love
what
her.
I would
She
do as
adds-
well.
Deadpool.
She adds her own sound effects
She
when
does
she's
that.
doing
She
it.
is known
funny.
to do that. She also has
Nice.
a dog named
I love that.
Lockjaw. But the thing that I really love about this,
She named her doll Lockjaw
Yeah, what?
It's
Go
a-
back.
after the Inhuman dog.
it is the Inhuman dog.
What?
Okay.
She's an Inhuman, dude.
Yeah, I know she is.
Oh.
Yeah,
She's like lent it.
yeah, she got her powers from Terrigen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
So
So
Lockjaw's in the comics.
yeah, right. So, but like Lockjaw lives in her house with her,
Like he's actually not really allowed in because he's too big, so he has to be in the back a lot.
and her parents
And the
know
mo-
about.
Well, the mom is just so upset about the dog. It's like,
oh my
you're
god, that's
you're-
awesome. That's
the-
awesome.
The thing that I really love about
I
her,
love Lockjaw. He's great.
yeah,
You
he's
go
great
ahead.
in this too. But like,
Yeah,
the thing I love about her character though is it shows a lot of like sort of the immigrant struggle. So being like a first generation Canadian with immigrant parents,
yeah,
what happens is that like you're kind of forced to be in two different worlds because like you want to be respectful of your culture and you want to bring that to who you are, but then you are also like in living in like North America
You have
and
to
you
assimilate,
want and
yeah.
you have to assimilate, you want to fit
Yeah.
in, and it shows her struggle
Yeah.
of that, not only her struggle of like being a superhero, but her struggle of like trying to find out who she is and accept herself. And I think it's something that like a lot of immigrant kids go through, because sometimes she feels embarrassed about like some of the things that she has to go through or parts of her culture. And
Mhm.
she has a really cool friend named Nakia who I'm pretty sure should be in the show. If she's not, it wouldn't make sense. Who was also a Muslim character, but she wears hijab and she's so cool, and also she's very fashionable and she's so sure of herself. And Kamal like really wants to sort of be like that, but she isn't quite there yet. But you see her like learning. And her family is like super loving as well. And I think it'll just be it'll be like a cool insight to something we don't see often, which is like a Muslim household. And then also she's a really fun character.
Cool.
Yeah. I get like kind of a Spider-Man vibe off her
Yeah, me
story.
too.
It's really
Yeah.
fun, yeah.
she's very Peter Parker. She's very likable, and she's she's very bubbly, and she's got a good personality for sure.
How do you think her powers will translate onto screen?
I know,
Holy
that's what I'm
shit.
wondering about.
Yeah, I'm wondering about
She's like
that
a
too.
shapeshifter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also
It's
like
kinda
she
weird.
embiggens, so she can like make her fist really large
Yeah.
and like all
stretch
that.
her arms,
so.
and
Uh,
she in a way it's kind of like Mr. Fantastic's
Yeah, I was gonna
powers,
say it's a little
It is.
Fantastic
not-
Four-esque.
but like it's kind of different.
But Fantastic Four didn't really translate well to the big screen,
Yeah.
so I
No.
hope this
CGI
does
has
better.
gone-
That was a
It's
long
gone a
time
long
ago, though.
way,
That was a
I
long
Yeah,
time ago.
it
Those-
definitely might look odd. Like, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
because in the comics, like even in the comics, you're like, oh, her hand is like 10 times the size
Yeah,
it's supposed
but
to
it
be. So-
works. They're kind of just like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, cool, whatever. But
But I do think, yeah, we'll see how CGI, and it's in development, so I don't know when it'll actually come out.
but it's also
but-
TV, so this is
Mhm.
a show, right? So I don't know
Do
about
we-
the CGI on a TV show.
Do we see her keeping her original origin story with the Terrigen crystals? Because I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a huge Marvel Agents of Shield fan, and the Terrigen crystals are what turn Agent Daisy Johnson into Quake. So she's technically an Inhuman too, and the Inhuman storyline is actually quite a long thread within the overall season, the overall series arc of Marvel's Agents of Shield. So I imagine that they'll keep that because it's already kind of a part. It's almost established within the television aspect of the MCU. Do you guys see them keeping that as their origin story?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't see why not. And it could introduce like a whole
They're
new
really
sort
good
of.
with incorporating their TV stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
And
ahead.
it could,
Yeah.
it could lead up to Inhuman
Yeah.
show or movie, right? So probably. I
Well, they
think they'll
tried
keep
that. Yeah, they tried the Inhumans and they
Yeah.
failed. They failed
But
spectacularly.
they might try it again
Yeah.
as an MCU edition. right?
Hopefully, because like I think the characters are amazing, like Black Bolt and Medusa and Lockjaw, of course,
Hmm.
and some of the other characters are fantastic, and I really would love to see them be properly represented on,
And
in the
some of those
in movie
characters do
context.
some of those two characters do make like scenes in like the comics and Miss Marvel comics. So I can totally see that being like a stepping point if they were to go in that direction. Yeah.
Cool, cool. That sounds awesome. So I'm gonna ask you, Saba. Who would you want to cast as Kamala Khan?
I think it would have to be someone brand new. There's not really a lot of young,
Did you audition?
like, pardon?
Did you audition?
I know. That was like, can I tell you something? If I was, I
You
could.
keep saying how you look like
I
her.
know. I was gonna say I could picture you in this role.
Well, thank you. If anyone's out there, I'm a few years older than 16 now.
But you could pass for.
Yeah,
for
I
the
can still like
yeah.
I'm still in my mid-20s. I still
think
got
you
it.
could do it.
But we'll see. Yeah, I would have to be someone like we don't know. I think because I think there's not really like a lot of young like Indian or Pakistani because she's Pakistani, but like Indian people look the exact same, whatever. But there's not a lot of young actresses we see. I mean, there's a few, but I think it's like a chance to maybe like find someone. So.
Right. Raw
They'll
talent,
probably be
yeah.
holding like open auditions and stuff.
I think a lot of Pakistani and Indian people are going to disagree with you on
That
what
we
you
look
just said.
alike. We look the exact same. You can't disagree on that.
Do we see Kamala Khan connecting to any other like if you were going to pick some other characters from the MCU to show up in this show, do you have any in mind that you would want to see?
So here's the thing.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man would be great.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that'd
now
be
we've
fun.
got this Sony Disney bullshit
yeah.
Yeah,
debacle.
so I don't know
right?
about that. She's like a major Captain Marvel fangirl.
Yeah, I think
Like,
we should see Captain
major.
Marvel
Yeah, I
in
think
this show.
Captain Marvel's. Gonna
So
show
I
up.
don't know
Yeah.
if like she'll appear in the movie
Yeah.
or if Captain Marvel will make like a cameo in the show because she has like when she first like gets her power, she gets like a weird like vision and like Captain Marvel is in it and I think Thor is also in it.
Yeah.
And
You know, maybe the Defenders might show up because she's in Jersey, right?
she is in Jersey.
Is
So,
Nick
like-
Fury gonna look for her? Do we see Nick Fury finding her?
I mean, Samuel Jackson's gonna be all over these. To be honest.
Yeah, I think he's probably gonna be all three of these shows. Like it doesn't make any sense to take a character like that can cross over into any property and then tie them all together, not to do it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think
yeah,
he's like the
it's
one thing,
important.
like even if you see him for like one scene, like that's enough to tie
Yeah.
it in.
Yeah.
He does that a lot. It's just like
Yeah.
one senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like essentially the new Professor
There he
X,
goes.
like collecting all these people who
I
have
know,
power.
kind of, yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, Professor X. Like there's yeah. But yeah, no, Miss Marvel sounds like it's gonna be a really cool show. And I like the fact that there's gonna be so much texture to it as far as culturally and socially. I think that'll really give it a lot of character. So I'm excited to see that. The next one's Moon Knight. Surprising pick, honestly.
Left field for sure.
Yeah, definitely left field. But I think it's motivated by the idea that Moon Knight's kind of seen as Marvel's Batman, right? He's got all the gadgets, he's got money,
He has a cool suit.
he has a dope suit.
I think at one time, yeah, but I think the general consensus now is like Iron Man is the Batman.
I don't know.
Just in terms of like popularity. and,
But
like,
in
But
terms
they're
of
both part-
personality,
In terms
Moon
of
Knight is
personality,
more.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
Batman.
mean, he does have a sword. I
Plus,
guess.
Yeah.
plus, Moon Knight and Batman are very street level.
Yeah.
Heroes, right? They fight on street level. Unless Batman's hanging out with the Justice League, which he can go to space or
Yeah.
another dimension
Or,
or
a
whatever.
Flash's art show.
Or what?
Flash's art show.
The Flash's heart show. Yeah. But yeah, Moon Knight's this very street level character. And like people use the word suffers from multiple personality disorders. I would rather say he utilizes multiple
I
personality
love that
disorder.
about him, honestly.
Yeah. Like he's Mark Spector, this soldier of fortune,
Mhm.
and he's this Jake Lockley, this cab driver in New York City, and he's also Stephen Grant, this millionaire, and he uses all these personalities in his pursuit of handing down the hands of justice.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool.
I think it'll be interesting as well because as much as he utilizes it, like you can say that he has like an internal struggle. So we see secret identities, and Chris has mentioned this a lot, hasn't been as big of a deal in the MCU as it has been in the comics. But to see a secret identity like we see like superheroes sort of struggle like with their life, like their personal life, being like, oh, I have this secret, but like to actually struggle with the identity of who you are will be interesting to see because he's sort of becoming these different people in the same sort of body, and there is like going to be like this weird internal struggle there, and I think it has to be explored correctly. I hope they don't make it like like stereotypical, like I'm this person now I'm this person and whatever. Like it
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
be
it
done
can't
well.
be.
I think it
It
could.
can't be cheesy. It can't be stupid. Yeah, it has to be done properly. Sorry, Christina, what were we saying?
I think it could make this story interesting. I think that it could change the way he interacts with characters, and I think that could make for richer plot points. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And-
We go ahead, Saba.
Oh, I was gonna say, and we'll have to have like an actor who can like really has the chops to pull it off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because this is not just like, oh, I'm a different person now. I put a hat on. I'm
Yeah.
a cab driver.
yeah.
It's like someone who
I was
can
actually thinking about. You guys go first. I actually have a
I
good
was-
pick for this.
So this is, I don't know if he would fit the role or not, but James McAvoy, like in
That's the
Split,
obvious choice. Yeah,
because-
he's so good at it.
because like in Split, you could see whether you like those movies or not. Like a lot of people would say, like you could see what character he was just from his facial
Absolutely,
expression.
yeah.
And so, an actor who can do something like that, and I do love James McAvoy in general, like his
James
acting,
McAvoy,
he's
dope.
great.
Yeah.
But an actor like that who can achieve something like that.
So for me, like, hear me out. Don't attack me.
Okay, we're
But
gonna
I-
attack you. Okay.
So, you guys know Alan Tudyk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's dope. I think he can definitely pull that shit off. Because, like, he plays, like, these radically different roles. And it's, like, that's not somebody I would, like, pick for, like, a macho type role. But, like, at first glance. But I've seen him in, like, Dollhouse. And, like, he plays Alpha in Dollhouse. And Alpha's nothing but, a badass, in control dude. And I was so surprised by his performance. I think he can, like, pull something
Oh,
like this off.
I think you could definitely do it, but I don't think we'll see that because he's doing work with DC right now. So
Yeah, yeah. He's all Doom Patrol right now.
That's true.
and he's
Uh,
gonna be on the Harley Quinn show.
Oh
so.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he's gonna voice on
Joker.
the. He's voicing the Joker.
Well, I
yeah.
guess like
Ooh.
outside of that,
Yeah.
I could still hope. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think
but
it's a
no,
good pick.
but like you guys are making a great point, and that is you need somebody who's going to be able to capture the essence of each of these individuals to collectively bring them together, right? So it makes me think about one of my favorite shows ever, Orphan Black, right? Tatiana Maslany is without a doubt one of the greatest actresses right now working because she plays what
So many
seven
characters.
different clones in Orphan Black, and their personalities are so fucking different, and their quirks are so different, and their accents are so different, and she nails them every time, and you don't see her slip from one performance to another. So we need a male Tatiana Maslany to fill this
Or
role.
just her, get her in a wig. I'm sure she could do it.
Yeah.
But I also think it's not that surprising that they brought him in because he kind of does a lot of cameos in a lot of different series and different comics. So, and a lot of different writers have also touched on him. So, I think
Moon
he
Knight
could
as
be
a whole?
versatile. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he's a cool character. There's a lot of good real estate there, a lot of good creative equity, and I hope they spend it wisely. I really do. Okay, so that's all the Marvel announcements for D23. This is where we go into the Star Wars portion. Now, caveat on this, guys, we're not going to talk about Rise of Skywalker in this episode. We're sorry, but we analyzed the trailer. We looked back at a lot of the things that we needed to research, and we've come to the conclusion that Rise of Skywalker needs its own episode. So we're doing an entire episode dedicated to Rise of Skywalker. So please stay tuned for that.
welcome.
We are going to dive deep. We're talking about Palpatine. We're talking about Operation Cinder. We're going to talk about Rey. We're going to talk about as much as we possibly can until we're blue in the face over Star Wars, and that's a happy death for me. So, so let's start off with The Mandalorian, which is going to be Disney's first release on the Disney Plus platform on November 12th.
I
So
can't wait.
excited. And that
Guys,
trailer. Oh my gosh, when he shot and then the door closed and
Yeah,
he shot that
it's
shot.
such a tone.
It
man.
harkens back to like A New Hope as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is going to be from what I can see, it's going to be a tone perfect show, and I think they're touching on a lot of the things that that aren't getting revealed in like Rise of Skywalker. Like we see a lot of Imperials within this trailer, and they kind of look like warlords. They don't necessarily look like Imperials because, like, let's face it, you see that shot with the stormtrooper helmets, and it looks like a lot of stormtroopers died.
Yeah, like their
because they were
heads.
exactly because they were in the wrong place, right? So we're talking on the outreaches of space, but we're also talking about power struggles, power vacuums, right?
Mhm.
Where this Mandalorian and where this council of bounty hunters or this guild of bounty hunters kind of exists and exerts their power. And the guy that's going to be pulling the strings for the Mandalorian, the guy that is kind of giving the orders, is Werner Herzog. Like that's huge. Like Werner Herzog is a documentary guy. He's got one of the best voices ever. I don't know if you guys saw that episode of Rick and Morty, where Jerry has to give up his penis to save
Some hard hitting stuff here.
yeah, hard hitting stuff.
Wow.
To save this alien, but the guy that does the voice is Werner Herzog, and if you hear his voice, or you'll recognize it immediately. But that is such a feather in the cap of Star Wars for getting a guy like Werner Herzog to do this show.
I think they've got like a great cast. There's Pedro Pascal, who is going to be like the one under the helmet.
Yep.
And you probably know him as Oberyn from Game of Thrones. Also, he's in Narcos.
Yep.
But the interesting thing here is the timeline. So, like you said, there's like a lot of power struggle going on. It's 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
You know, and so there's a lot of chaos when you sort of overthrow this empire. And this is what I liked about Rogue One, was that it was like a darker side of Star Wars.
Yes.
I like seeing this sort of darker
Yep.
side of what has happened, because this is what happens when you overthrow a regime. Like you're
Yep.
going to get this chaos.
Yeah, it's accurate. It's historically accurate to what's happened in a lot of countries over time, for sure.
I like that aspect of the political side of it.
Yeah.
I also love that it's got this kind of space western vibe because of that.
Yes.
It's taking place during a time when there's
Yes.
anarchy and everybody's kind of
Guys,
out for themselves.
how many dust planets are there?
There's so many. Yeah,
So
for
many.
sure.
I get so confused. I'm like,
Yeah.
where are we right now?
Are we on Tatooine? Are we here? No, for sure.
But,
Jakku?
I mean,
Where
I
the
love
fuck
it.
are we?
I love the
no.
desert. So
Yeah, I love like the Mandalorian, like as like a nation, because they're not just from like Mandalore. They're like scattered all across. It's a very rich culture, and like I've been looking a lot into them, and I love how like they're gonna. I hope they delve into the history of Mandalore and like the history of like the helmet that used to be like signifies like the leader of the Mandalorians, and the black sword that becomes the new leader of the
The
Mandalorians.
Darksaber.
Darksaber,
Yeah.
yeah. And I love that they're doing a lot of like nods to like Jango Fett with the quick draw, and like man. So I do like the setting, like since you brought up setting, I do like the setting because it's like, you know, as a bounty hunter, how would it work with the Empire? We know that the Empire like employed a lot of bounty hunters,
Yeah.
namely Jango Fett or Boba Fett, sorry.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, for me, so I got that out of the way. I do like what they're doing here, although I am a little bit disappointed because if somebody said the word Mandalorian to me, there's a few things I think about is Jabba the Hutt. I think about Darth Maul. I think about, in a sense, I think about Obi-Wan, and none of that are here, right? Like this is after every one of those characters are dead, and it's like I'm a little bit disappointed because where I would put this is the infancy of the Empire. It's like if we're talking about power struggles, and it's perfect that like now that the power struggles is like up to the Outer Rim gangsters to take it to take whatever power they can get, which in turn like fuels this like villainy of whatever of bounty hunters. If we're talking about like power struggles, how awesome would it be to see like the Outer Rim gangsters like on its last legs as the Empire starts rising, and the Mandalorians like switching from being employed by Jabba the Hutt characters to the Empire themselves. It's like I'm just a little bit disappointed that they didn't stick with that setting, like right after Clone Wars and right before.
yeah, I think we might see how those characters impacted this world and this timeline. Maybe we'll get some insight into the culture that existed and the legacy that was left behind from their
And
timeline.
also for the timeline, the reason they could have not chosen that timeline is because there is a lot about that timeline already out there. I mean,
I think like so in between Clone Wars and the Rebels, I think there's a nice like dark era in there that they could have done. Like obviously not as big as in between First Order and the Fall of the Empire. It's not as big definitely, and they would have to fit it into a very
yeah.
small thing. But
So-
like really,
Well,
what I really wanted is the alleys of Coruscant. Like
Yeah.
put the Mandalorian inside the
1313 level 1313.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like put him inside this like because
Yeah.
that's I love those episodes from Clone Wars
Yeah,
when they
they're great.
explore this like
Yeah, they're
film
great.
noir style
Yep.
like investigation whatever.
Yep.
Like that's what I want in
Yep.
Mandalorian.
and the other reason could be is because we do have the Obi-Wan show
That's right,
that is
yeah.
taking place, like I think about 5 to 8 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
Which it
yeah,
would-
it's yeah. I think it's supposed to jump off around that point, but it's definitely after Order 66.
hmm
And it's going to we'll get into Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
You know, let's transition in Obi-Wan right now then.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's completely fine. But Chris, you make a good point. Just want to touch on that real quick before we move off. You make a good point. That story would have been definitely interesting, but I think that I think one aspect that let's say rogue Mandalorians could have taken advantage of is the fact that all the Jedi have been killed off too. I
And-
think they would see that
No,
as an
and I
amazing
love-
opportunity to jump in and do yeah.
And I love
and to
like
take
Darth
advantage of
Maul
that.
like trying to take over Mandalore.
It was a
It's
great
like,
story.
How amazing would that
Great
be
story.
to see like
Yeah.
I'm excited to just see what we'll get in terms of like new cultures and ideologies. So I think we might get
Yeah,
we might
I
get some
love
of that.
any
Sure.
chance we get to sort of explore more of the worlds in
Yeah.
Star Wars. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't. I mean, if you are a fan, then you kind of get to explore in other regions and like in the books and like maybe the games as well. But like to actually sort of see that I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, let's stay on Mandalorian for just a couple more seconds. I just want to
please.
I just want to say that the creative team behind The Mandalorian is what's giving me the utmost
Me
confidence
too.
about this series. We have Jon Favreau and we have Dave Filoni of the Clone Wars and the Rebels animated series. And not a lot of people have put aside the stigma and watched the Clone Wars because it is an animated show and they assume it's for kids. It is not for
It
kids
is amazing.
at all. It is
good, guys.
it is the
I'm gonna have
best
to watch it then.
Yes, please
Yeah.
do.
you have to watch it. It is the best Star Wars storytelling canonically that exists right
And
now,
it shows
without
like
a
the
doubt.
grittiness of war that like
Yeah.
the movies. I mean, Revenge of the Sith sort of did, but like
Yeah,
it
They
shows
kind
like
of only
that difference.
touched on it in the movies,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Like you
like,
got little snippets.
Here,
You got
like,
snippets,
get so
exactly.
much. And they're so careful about putting everything in the right place.
yeah,
Like one of the things was like Anakin never meets Grievous in the show ever because
No.
he meets Grievous in the movie.
yep,
But Obi-Wan has met Grievous a million times, and they're very careful not to
Yeah.
like ruin that.
yeah.
Anyways,
And and also Taika Waititi will also be a director for one of the
Yes.
episodes, and he
Nice.
voices
Yes.
IG-11,
Yes,
which is the droid, I guess, that will be working
us.
with
Yeah.
the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So, and we all know, he's a real expert voice actor from Korg, so from his Korg days.
So one of the things I heard on another show, and I want to get everybody's take on this. So there's a rumor going around that George Lucas didn't sell some of the rights to some of his characters, and that's why we're getting the Mandalorian
Oh.
and not Boba
and
Fett.
IG-11.
Oh,
Oh.
maybe.
What do you think? Because
Like what?
Well,
what,
why wouldn't?
what
I
did he
don't-
keep?
Yeah.
well, that's the thing.
And why
is-
would he specifically keep that?
Yeah, why Boba Fett of all things?
Oh, Boba Fett's like one of the biggest.
Yeah, he is a
one
big
of the most
character.
famous characters.
Yeah, he's definitely
But
got.
I don't see why he would.
Yeah, I don't see why either because isn't it all or nothing?
Yeah.
Like once you sell the
Unless he was
Star
gonna
Wars
make a
universe, like isn't it
movie.
all of them?
But he wouldn't make a movie without Disney.
Because he sold Lucasfilms. Like he
Yeah.
sold
Right.
the studio, so
So unless you were
Right.
gonna
He
make
doesn't
a
have a
movie
studio
about
to make
Boba
it.
It would be
Fett,
weird to
it
sell
wouldn't make
everything
sense.
except Boba Fett. Like, even though he's a great character,
and and IG-88. That would be the weirdest thing ever. It's like I'm not giving up Boba Fett and
but
IG-88.
you can
Sorry.
have every other character.
But
Yeah,
see,
but you got
unless he
every
was
other
so
character.
scared of what someone else might do with those characters.
I
Does that-
don't-
but that's
I don't see
unfortunate.
that.
I was
'cause-
talking
I
to my
don't see
brother
that.
about this, and he's like, "No, the Mandalorian has to be Boba Fett. That's dumb if it's not." I'm like, "He can't be. Look at the timeline." He's like, "No, it is. It is."
No,
Like to me,
I'm with your brother. Like it should have been goddamn.
I
Boba
think
Fett.
they're
Everybody
gonna-
wants a
no,
Boba Fett.
no, because the Mandalorian story is about like the Clint Eastwood character and like a man with no name, right? He's out there to take money and to do a dirty job.
Yeah.
but then he's confronted with a moral, with a moral quandary as to what does he do about, saving this kid or saving this village
Okay.
or whatever, right? So Boba Fett ain't gonna do that shit. Boba Fett is not the character with a moral compass to actually go and do good. Like he's just not that character.
I also
Right.
think that they're going to do something with that eventually, just
Boba
not
Fett,
now.
yeah. Well,
I think somehow
they-
this is going to
they
build up
announced-
to it.
Well, he's
Yeah,
dead.
that's
He's
the
in a
Boba-
Sarlacc pit.
No,
Yeah,
man, he
but-
crawls out, bro.
Well, like
Everybody
you could
knows-
jump around. You can make a
Everybody knows
movie.
he crawls out of the goddamn
Alright.
Sarlacc
But-
pit.
All right.
They can make a movie in any time frame, right? So they
Like,
could
all
go
the fanboys
back
are
and
like,
make
he
a.
crawls out.
I
Yeah.
think I was never one of those guys who's like, oh, dude, Boba Fett's awesome. Boba
He was
Fett
barely
says
there.
literally
Yeah.
nothing. There's
Yeah.
no context to
He
his
shoots
character.
like 4 blasters.
He's badass.
That's
He's
like shows
badass.
how iconic is.
Okay,
That's
Yeah.
all he does, and
Yeah.
look at his fan following.
Yeah.
No, but
for
I think
me-
one of the things about Boba Fett is that he doesn't buy into the existing ideologies. He's kind of just like in it for himself, and he does his
Sure.
own thing.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
to me, that's what makes him interesting.
Sure, but there's more context about Jango Fett than there is about Boba Fett.
Fett,
yeah, but
for
that's
sure.
why it could be like a cool other movie, and they could always go back and like into a different
like
timeline.
not having context. I agree. Not
Yeah.
having context could be a good
Right,
thing
right.
because it's like they can jump
Right.
off. But can we just like talk about how he died by being nudged by Han Solo? He's like, oops. Oh.
and he's still an iconic
And
character.
everybody was like, yeah, I think it was the armor. Everybody just loved the armor. And
He
it's like,
does. He does have one of the most badass ships in the Star Wars universe. The
yeah,
Slave
the
One
yeah.
was
no, isn't
dope
it
as
Slave
shit.
4?
No, Slave One.
I thought Django had Slave 1 and he had Slave 4. Anyways,
Shit.
He has
Okay,
a cool
I don't know.
costume.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Mandalorian
So
art, yeah.
you definitely have to watch the Clone Wars because
Yeah,
there's a
yeah, please
storyline
do.
where you get to see Boba as a kid growing up.
Oh, fun.
As a bounty hunter with a group of bounty
Oh, I
hunters.
like
It's
that.
so dope.
It's pretty
well,
cool.
this show is also
It's
about
pretty
bounty
fucking
hunters,
cool.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Just-
well,
No.
it is to a degree, but
Yeah.
it's
Guys, is that Lando in the trailer?
no, that's Carl Weathers. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
part of
I was really hoping that was
he's
Lando.
part of the Bounty Hunters Guild with Herner Warzog and the other bounty hunter characters within this story. So just gonna drop a quick note before we move on to Obi-Wan. So Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad is also in the show.
Yeah.
And so is Gina Carano from Deadpool. She's going to be in the show as well. So they got an all-star cast, all-star creative team. This show is going to be my new Game of Thrones, I'm pretty sure. And we've been talking about it, but I definitely think we should do an after show for this one. So
Yeah.
let's.
I'm getting like a Serenity Firefly vibe off of it.
Nice.
So
Darker.
that's what
yeah,
excites
a little
me
bit
about
darker,
it. Yeah.
A shade darker.
Nice.
I'm good with that. I'm good with a darker version
Yeah.
of something
Nice.
like that. Yeah.
Well, hello there. So let's jump
Hello
into Obi-Wan. I can't do a British accent. I apologize.
I can't
Was
either.
that your British accent?
No, it wasn't. Not at all. I wasn't
Okay.
even trying because I can't do it. Look what I deal with here. So Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is the next series within the Star Wars franchise that's going to be developed along with Cassian Andor and with the Clone Wars. So they announced that Ewan McGregor is coming back to play
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. He might possibly even be directing, which is kind of cool.
That's pretty.
I've never seen a movie he directed, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, my excitement over this is very simple. I want to see what was happening as Obi-Wan was on Tatooine and being Luke's watchdog. Like, what was going on? Who did he see? Who did he confront? Like,
Also, the timeline is interesting because I'm pretty sure it's 8 years after, which gives us about 10 years to A New Hope,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we probably will see like a young Luke. And their Order 66 had been announced. He's still in hiding, and he has to also protect Luke, who is obviously Force sensitive, and they're killing any Force sensitive person there is.
Yeah.
yep. And they're sending out Vader, and they're sending out Inquisitors to kill Jedi
Right.
because that's
Yeah.
happening in the comic books.
And I think they're going to be hanging around a lot on the outskirts of the galaxy. So I think that will be fun because those planets
The
to
Outer
me.
Rim?
No, yeah, I think those planets to me are the most
Do you
fun.
think he'll stay on Tatooine the whole time, or
I
he'll
don't-
like
I don't
travel?
think
Yeah,
so.
here's the thing with the
I don't-
Obi-Wan thing.
go ahead.
So the Obi-Wan thing is, I feel like it's so restricted because he can never see Vader, right? He can never
Yeah.
see the Empire because he's in hiding. So it's like, so not only is it like a small time frame that we have to experience this, he also can't do anything that interesting in a way,
Because
right?
it would ruin like the trilogy.
It,
Like
it
in New
just
Hope.
it just wouldn't
Yeah.
fit. Like if like the whole thing is that like Vader never knew he existed, so he has to stay in hiding. Now what he can do is meet Darth Maul
But in
the
Rebels,
so this is what I mean. So
Who
it's like,
hates
so,
him?
So in Rebels, it's
Who
like
hates him?
like yeah, exactly. So like Darth Maul is like the leader of the underworld right now. So it would be really cool. But in Rebels, they already showed you what happened. So like this is what I mean. It's like very restricted. Like
But there
they'll-
could
Yeah.
be so many other bad guys and so many other
Yeah.
cultures and other things going on. So I think we're
Obviously,
just gonna see a lot
they're
more.
gonna introduce new things for sure.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna see a lot more
I
of what
wanted
else
him-
was happening, who else is scared of the Empire, what other people might also be fighting against it, but not
Yeah.
necessarily part of the rebellion.
You know what
Right.
I think? Like Uncle Owen is gonna play a big part. Like I think Uncle Owen and him might do some cool stuff. And
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, I think Qui-Gon might be a thing too, right?
yeah.
What if? Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
Qui-Gon.
he's
yeah.
doing his training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's touch on Qui-Gon. Do you like Qui-Gon is like he's a Force ghost now, but he has the power to come back in physical form and
Does he?
communicate.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he
Physical form,
does. Yeah, yeah. So in the Mortis episodes of Clone Wars, he shows up as a corporeal being. So he's
No
actually physically manifested in front of Obi-Wan. So he's the first one to learn how to materialize after death,
Right.
which he teaches to Yoda. So I definitely see Obi-Wan kind of playing a role in this show for sure. Or sorry, I
Qui-Gon.
definitely see
So
Qui-Gon
do you
playing
think
a role
Liam
in the show.
Neeson then will
I hope
make
so,
a reappearance?
man.
Let's hope so. That'd be really cool.
That would
But
be
then
dope.
again, Liam Neeson has had some really controversial shit happen to him as
Yeah,
of late.
and that's a whole
right?
other side conversation.
Yeah, it's a
so we'll
whole
see.
other side conversation. We didn't have a show back then. Otherwise, we would have talked about it. But yeah, so I don't know if Disney's going to rope him in for something like that or they're going to find a way around it. The other thing is, remember Clone Wars? When he wanted to assume the identity of somebody else, he had the technology to physically
That's
change his
true.
face.
He became
Mhm.
that other guy. I forgot his name.
Racco Hardeen.
Which is like the best
Yeah.
story in that. In
It
that
was
whole
so
thing.
good. It was so
He
good.
yeah, so, you
So-
guys haven't seen it. He becomes a bounty hunter to like he fakes his own death.
Yeah.
and
Oh.
like rips apart Anakin Skywalker, and he like assumes his identity as a bounty hunter. It's fucking
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, who currently knows Obi-Wan is alive in
Yoda?
this time
Yoda.
frame?
Yoda and
Organa.
yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. Like, would there be some sort of relation?
Alderaan. He might go to Alderaan.
That's what I was thinking. He might go to
Oh, that's
Alderaan.
so
That's a good call.
Yeah.
That's a good call. And like he could definitely hide in plain sight. Like he has this, right? You
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
saw me.
I
You
wish I
never
had
saw
that.
me.
That's
you
actually
never
pretty
saw
cool.
do
me.
that to
Obi-Wan is
so
a
many
spy
people.
now. Oh, that's
Right?
so, that's so
But
dope.
that's what I
Right?
was saying.
Oh,
that
like,
would be
there's still
fun.
there is still that
There's a bit of a
resistance that's
side.
going on, and he's still
Right.
connected to it because when we see him in New Hope, he knows what is going on, so
Right.
that he does have a point of contact.
Right.
Yeah, so like the one thing I would really, really hope for, I know there's some like novel out there that like destroys my hopes for this, but I really want to see Asajj Ventress show up because Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan's like relationship is one of my favorite relationships
Yeah,
in Star
they're
Wars.
they're pretty cool. Yeah, they have
They,
like a
they're like
sexual
mortal enemies, but
they have like a
kinda
sexual
crush
tension.
on each
Oh,
other.
I
Yeah, they have a
love
sexual
it.
Like it's
tension.
so
Yeah.
good. Like she's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
she's
they
like
flirt
a
with
So,
each
sister.
so
other.
she's a bad guy.
She's a bad guy.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, because I think we need a villain. We haven't.
She
haven't
turns in,
thought
but
about-
like
She be-
she has a redemption arc.
She has a redemption arc,
Yeah, she
yeah.
definitely has a redemption
but would she
arc.
be a villain in this time frame?
Okay, so what she is like she used to be a Sith, and then she renounces. So like the Sith betray her, so she renounces her Sith ways. But now she's like an assassin out there, just
She
being
becomes a
fire.
bounty hunter.
Bounty
Oh,
hunter,
that's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Yeah.
And I love those two
So-
together so much.
so-
Yeah.
Does Palpatine know about the kids? Because I think that
I don't
affects
think
the
so.
story.
I don't think so.
Shouldn't he be able to sense it or
He
feel
should
it?
be able
No,
to
no,
sense
no, no.
it. He should be able to sense it, and it doesn't make
But
sense.
they thought I think he thought that they
Oh.
died in childbirth, like both the kids and
No, he
Ben.
lies to Vader. I think he
right,
lies
he
to
knows.
Vader.
Right, he knows the kids
Why
are
the hell
alive.
does he not like
He
go
knows
after
the
them?
kids
oh no,
are
because because if Vader knew, then Vader
I
would go
never
find
thought
his
about
children.
So,
Like Vader
okay.
thinks his kids are dead.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
Vader
for
does,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, so let's look at it from a Palpatine way. Okay, he lets the kids go. Why else would he let the kids go? Because he's got some kind of fucking bigger plan for them at some point,
True.
right?
Unless he was hoping to convert them too.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's
the
his
son
bigger
and the
plan.
daughter.
Yeah.
The whole sort of there's that mythology, the mythos of like the son and the daughter.
The
whatever.
Mortis thing.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
if that's a tie-in really, but I was like maybe it's like he's trying to fulfill something else.
Maybe. I don't know, but he definitely knows the kids exist. Plus, this is the biggest plot hole in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
He hides Luke on Tatooine, where Anakin is originally from.
I know.
Yeah.
But doesn't change his name.
Yeah.
But
He's
doesn't
still Luke
he's still
Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker.
No. Oh yeah, his last name. Yeah, for sure.
Like, you couldn't call him Luke Baru or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like
Like,
they got like a different
the
last
fuck?
name. Like she's Leia
or
Organa.
Lars. Sorry, Lars. Lars is the last name. You couldn't call him Luke Lars?
yeah,
Like, what the
that
fuck?
is so. Yeah, that's so
Such a
stupid.
huge plot hole in that story.
But maybe because Tatooine is a planet that is on those outskirts,
far
he's
away.
like, but then, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're trying to hide someone, you would change their name. So he must have done it on purpose. Maybe it was intentional that he didn't.
Yeah,
change
why
their
did
name.
Luke get to keep his and then Leia? Oh, I guess Leia
Yeah.
makes sense if she like is being
was
raised by a
adopted.
different
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
No, but so was
See-
Luke. Like Luke was being
Yeah.
Well,
raised
no,
by.
but when you make sense actually, because his uncle, what's the fam?
Owen Lars and Baru Lars.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, they were
That was
Shami's
fun. That's so stupid.
like
step family.
yeah, step family cousins
Yeah.
or some shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she married their father.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's actually not step family. Half brother.
Right, half brother. Half
Yeah.
brother. Right. Okay.
So they're actually really.
I'm fucking up my prequel stuff, guys.
too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think literally anything could happen in this show. It's all about how creative the creative team can get.
The only thing they're gonna have to do is because if it's 10 years before New Hope, they gotta age him real fast.
Yeah.
In 10 years, he's gotta like be real stressed
Yeah.
to get that.
Yeah. He's gonna have some silver in his beard
Yeah.
for sure. Cool. Well, that should naturally take us into Clone Wars because Obi-Wan was such a huge part of Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars series is something very near and dear to my heart. I
too.
love that fucking show. If you're a Clone Wars fan, holler at us. We want to hear your thoughts and your feelings about Clone Wars because it's a great series. So the prequel timeline is where we're at. But like this story starts, I think, right at the point where Obi-Wan and Anakin are summoned to rescue Chancellor Palpatine from Grievous. Right? That's the jump off
Are you
point
talking
for
about the
Return of the
new
Sith.
season?
Sorry,
Are
or
you talking
Revenge of
about
the Sith.
Are you talking about the new season of Clone Wars?
Yes,
Oh,
number
okay,
7.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where it jumps off. And what happens is Darth Maul is attacking some other place at the same time, and Anakin and Obi-Wan can't do anything about it. So Ahsoka goes in their place with her own regiment of clone troopers who've now adopted her colors into their face masks. And she has her own captain and her own commander and all that. So, and I think it's Rex. I think Rex is actually tied
Gallius?
to the unit.
Like Gallius Rex?
No. Commander Rex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Different.
Rex is one of the clone troopers. Some of them took names, some of them didn't, or took regular names, but some of them didn't. So I think that could be really interesting because, like, we're literally counting down the moments as we see this story unfold on Clone Wars to where Order 66 gets dropped, and Anakin heads over to the temple and starts slaughtering younglings.
Right.
Like, that's going to be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, in the context of an animated series, especially now that Ahsoka has come back to help,
Yeah.
and now she ultimately, that's it, done, lost. Right? Anakin is lost to the dark side completely.
Seeing like Ahsoka deal with that is gonna be like
It's going to be nuts.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Because
nuts.
they're
It's like one of the
relationship.
biggest unanswered questions in Star Wars for sure up to
it's-
this moment. So
It's going to be the saddest cartoon ever made, like literally.
but do we know that that's how it ends? Like Order
There's some
66?
pretty sad animes out there. I don't know about that.
I think, wouldn't you agree that's the most logical place it can go? Because aren't they painted,
Yeah.
like, aren't
I
the
don't know if they're
flagposts
ballsy
kind of
enough. Yeah,
painted?
I could see that definitely.
Yeah. I think the yardsticks are set, right? Like, they really can only take this story so far, right? So you got Ahsoka fighting Maul because we've seen that image of Maul and Ahsoka. Ahsoka's a little bit older, a little bit wiser. She's not a Jedi anymore too, right? Like, we should definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
She's not a Jedi, but she's coming back with her own, under
That's
her own,
right.
her
Yeah.
own
How
sense
the
of
hell
purpose.
How does she get like a clone regiment?
I think it's Anakin and Obi-Wan going, who the hell else are we gonna fucking call,
Right.
right? And it's just like, okay, we're gonna get Ahsoka.
You know
to come
what I
help.
think? It's actually the 501. So you don't see any of the 501 in what do you call that? In Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
I think Anakin, because Anakin takes a bigger role in Coruscant.
Yeah,
I think he sends Rex and the 501 to help Ahsoka
against Darth Maul.
against Darth Maul, right?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have her own regiment
Right,
anymore,
right.
right? And it's like, how cool would that be? Because Rex is a big character
Yeah.
in that, and I don't really see Rex turning against like Ahsoka,
Right.
so I think he helps her escape.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so too. I think that a couple of these clone troopers have pulled their control chips out, right? Because remember in
Namely the
Clone Wars,
501, yeah.
yeah, they revealed that Palpatine during
Season
the
6.
growth of the clones put in these chips in their heads so he could give that order 66 and they wouldn't refuse it.
Yeah.
Because
Because their whole thing is about loyalty, and like that chip is like they'll without that chip they would
It
they would
counters
never
their-
have
How would they
betrayed.
know it
it
was
counters
there?
their sense of
They don't. That's the whole
Yeah.
big
Oh,
mystery.
but
so
to take it out, they would have
one
to know
trooper
it's there.
found it.
Yeah.
Like one trooper found it.
sixes, right?
Yeah, sixes found it. Because one of the in the Clone Wars series, one of the troopers, his chip malfunctions and he kills a Jedi, like
Yeah.
Oh.
as it happens.
And then there was a big
And
mystery.
there's a big investigation, and then this chip is revealed, and yeah,
So I think the 501 finds the chip.
Yeah.
And they become,
Oh.
that's so dope.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
yeah,
I like the idea
I think that'll
of
be good.
rogue stormtroopers and
Stormtroopers,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. So do you think we see Order 66 play out on this
I
scale
think
on
we
Clone
will
Wars?
for sure. I
I
mean,
hope
that's such
so.
a big. I think that's a big conclusion to sort of her story with Anakin as well, and
Yeah.
everything happens. Like I would be surprised not to see it. I mean, it's such a big thing moving on, basically like past those movies.
Right. And then Revenge of the Sith, in the last like 15-20 minutes, we see a montage of Obi-Wan escaping, Yoda escaping, and Bail Organa escaping. Do we see how Ahsoka escaped? Or because she's not a Jedi, does she
No, like I think Anakin
Do they give her a
would
pass?
go find
Well,
her.
they're hunting anyone Force sensitive too, right? Order 66 isn't not just killing Jedi, isn't it? Or maybe it's the Inquisitors as well.
Yeah,
But
maybe
maybe-
it was after that they did a
Yeah,
cleanup
yeah,
job.
yeah.
But like,
But maybe it is just Jedi. Maybe
Yeah.
the Order had to be just Jedi.
yeah, but like think about Anakin wouldn't have let her go if he actually like became Darth Vader, right?
But maybe
Yeah.
that's his weak point.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah,
But isn't
that's
in
pretty cool.
Rebels?
Maybe that's his weak point.
I don't know. Isn't Ahsoka in Rebels as well?
She is, yeah.
She's in Rebels.
Yeah, she comes back as you know what? You have to watch it because like it's an actual really cool reveal. But yeah.
She gets
Yeah.
white lightsabers.
Yeah, and she has white
dope
she has
in
white
it.
lightsabers, yeah. Really cool. And she's like the most badass lightsaber combatant.
I've seen
like,
how she
ever.
looks, and she looks pretty badass. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm mostly interested because of that.
Yeah.
Please
Cool.
watch it, Christina. It's so good.
Okay, so let's touch on Cassian Andor real quick, and we'll sign off here. So is anybody excited for this series? Like I enjoyed Rogue One, but at the same time, I know where the story ends for Cassian Andor, so I know it's going to be a prequel. And I'm kind of excited to see how the lead up goes to him kind of getting to the place he was in Rogue One, because you get the idea that he's a very haunted guy. Like he's done a lot of sketchy shit
Yeah.
for the sake of the rebellion.
Yeah. I am excited
I am
for
excited.
it because like it's the same thing with all the prequels we've seen. We're kind of know where it's going, but we're gonna get like all these like
Right.
nitty gritty details that we didn't quite have before. I also really like Diego Luna. I think it'll be really cool that he is starring on the show. That's not someone was just pouring a glass of water in case you heard that.
Sorry, guys. I'm thirsty.
But yeah, so I'm excited. I think it should be interesting.
This is what I really love about Star Wars is that like we touched on this with Boba Fett, where we said like a lot of these singular characters in Star Wars really like brings people together. Like we said, like Boba Fett had like fired 3 blasters and like said 4 lines, but everybody made like books about him, and everybody had their own like ideas about him, and everybody was saying he crawl out of the Sarlacc pit, and it's like, and I love that we as Star Wars fans specifically love our characters, like just them by themselves, and I think Diego Luna's character Cassian, it could be one of these, because the first time we see him, like he shoots like his informant, someone he works with, and right away I'm like, oh, that's a fucking interesting character right here, like he can go down some avenues that we have never seen before, right? It's
Yeah.
it's like with Han Solo, it's like he's a roguish character. you've never seen him shoot his own men before, right? Like
No.
this is what really we're gonna see.
I think that's interesting as well, like seeing the dark side of the rebellion and
Yeah.
seeing what the rebellion is capable of doing.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have loved the
Yeah.
Jin Erso story.
Yeah.
Over Cassian's story, because like she was like a criminal in the opening of that movie, and I don't know, I found her character really fascinating, and like there was a lot of like mystery to her character prior to that movie. I would have liked that better, or even like Forrest Whitaker's character. That would have been really cool to see.
Saw Gerrera.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera, like that whole.
Yeah, that could have been interesting.
I think he might be in it, right? Because they know of each other.
You
But
know
Jin
what?
can't be in it.
Yeah, no, I don't think Jen will be in it, but I definitely think Saw Gerrera could be in it. You know, the one thing I'm hoping to see in this series is the Bothans. I want to see the Bothans that stole the Death Star
Yeah.
plans.
They kept
you know,
saying
the
that.
original ones,
Never saw
right?
it,
Yeah, like I want to see that. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
No, wait, shit, I'm wrong. The Bothans were the second Death Star.
No, man.
You don't know. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure the Bothans were the second Death Star.
No, because that girl, that like that lady that said that line, that was on Yavin 4. Which was a New Hope.
Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma.
She's
right.
fantastic. by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, that was on Yavin
Right.
4.
Okay.
Which is,
Yeah. No, you're right. So yeah, maybe
Kristen
we'll.
with the save.
So maybe we'll get
They
to see
never
some
showed them,
Bothans.
yeah.
That would be cool as shit. To kind of see how Cassian organized the plan and financed them, and kind of pulled all the strings behind the scenes to make it happen. Like that would be really, really interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, I really liked Rogue One and the characters in it. I also liked the time frame which it occurs. So even though it's kind of a prequel to this,
There's a lot
I
of
kind of
time
just
for
want
it.
to see what's happening on a lot of the other planets in this time frame. So
Right.
I'm excited for that.
I definitely think we'll get to see that, because if Cassian's this if he's this intelligence agent that he's
Yeah.
made that we've seen in Rogue One, traveling and networking and infiltrating is going to be a big part of what he does from story to story for sure. I really think so. Yeah.
And I think it will tie into a lot of other characters that are in the universe too. So I
Yeah.
think we have potential to see other characters come back. So
Yeah, for sure. So, anybody got any more thoughts for Cassian Andor, the series?
No, unless we get some more info. It's really just like it was just kind of announced.
Yeah.
There's not much more about it.
Yeah,
so.
not a lot. It's actually, it was announced quite a long time ago, but we've never really got any more information about it. So it kind of tells you how it's being prioritized, which makes sense in the lieu of in lieu of Episode 9. Obi-Wan's more connected to that story. The Mandalorian is probably connected to that story in some way as far as the Empire goes. So we'll see how that plays out. But guys, listen, thanks for listening to our D23 wrap up. We hope you enjoyed it. We are really excited for everything that we talked about. We're hoping to do, like I said, a Mandalorian after show where we'll be breaking down and analyzing the episodes post show. Because I hear that they're not going to release all the shows at once. Like it won't be like a Netflix release where you get all 10 episodes at once. So it'll be a week to week thing. Like we'll be forced to watch it from week to week, kind of like Game of Thrones. So this is Frank.
Christina.
Saba?
Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Later,
Peace.
dudes.
Thanks.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.